Let's talk about some of the big-name additions the Yankees signed this offseason. Jacoby Ellsbury into play center field. Brian McCann behind the plate. Carlos Beltran will be out in right, and then Hiroki Kuroda back for another year. Now, they also had some secondary signings. Matt Thornton for the bullpen. Kelly Johnson. Brendan Ryan, Brian Roberts will all get shots at either second or third. Ryan certainly will play some short as well in defensive whiz. And when you look at those guys in the situation at second and third, you could say Flash maybe a little unsettled. Is the other side of that the fact that Beltran, McCann, and Ellsbury will add so much more?
Well, I totally agree with you, Bob. I mean, you put McCann behind the plate, obviously a big-time offensive player. He's going to drive in a lot of runs, hit some home runs. Carlos Beltran, the same thing. You have a luxury now at second base and third. You don't have to have huge power numbers. The one knock on McCann's game has been his throwing game. He had shoulder surgery before last year. That shoulder will be 100% healthy coming into spring training. But this is what you're going to love about him. What he does at the plate, the short porch in right field, and also his leadership abilities behind the plate. He's going to run that Yankee pitching staff, and you can afford to have a little bit of a drop-off at second and third offensively because of those numbers, 20 home runs.
And you don't want a guy to fall in love with the porch, but Meredith at his press conference, he talked about the fact that he knows it's out there, and some of those balls he hit out to right at Turner Field as a member of the Braves will be going out as a member of the Yankees.
100%, and if you're not excited about that as a Yankees fan, there's probably something wrong with you. He talked a lot about that when I had the opportunity to sit down with him at NYY Steak, and he's just excited to be a part of this organization. He knows the history here. He knows the commitment to winning all the time, and, you know, guys are going to look forward to throwing to the same guy every day, and then offensively he gives you something, too, that you just didn't have from that position last year.
See, that's a great point, too, is that they're going to get the consistency of McCann behind the plate. Jack, the dynamic changes up the middle with McCann behind the plate. They lose Cano at second, but they have Ellsbury out there in center field now that adds a different dimension as well.
He does add a different dimension, Bob, and he is all about speed. Now, I know there are other aspects of his game, but when you look at this guy getting on base, he's going to unnerve catchers. He's going to unnerve pitchers. 52 out of 56 last year. He doesn't just steal bases. He never gets caught. I asked him over the weekend, what is your checklist when you get on first base? And I was waiting for him to say, I'm watching the pitchers move. I'm looking for something the catcher is doing behind the plate. And he's not a guy who brags. And he said, if I get my jump, they're not throwing me out. So that's what you want to hear from a base stealer. The other thing about him, everybody knows he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the field. He bristles a little bit when people think that he's a fragile player because both times he's missed big